Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dynasty Hot Seat, the only Dynasty show out there that is a certified inferno. Today, we're going at it again. We have collected the industry's best and brightest mock drafts, and what I've done is I've correlated them, and I've got an average draft position across all of your favorite Dynasty and fantasy creators, and we're going to see what everybody thinks of these rookies. But what I can see, guys, nobody else is doing this kind of content. I think it's a great way to see, how high and how low these players can change, week to week. And it gives a good balance, and kind of eliminating any kind of bias here by plucking little things from here, plucking things from there, and averaging it out. So this should give you a good indication of where players are going to go in your rookie mock drafts and rookie final drafts eventually whenever we get there. So hopefully everyone can appreciate this. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button. It really does help. Let's get going into the show. Before we go, you might be asking, hey, Max, who do you actually end up taking information from? I'll tell you straight up, right? It's Destination Devi with RegIQ. Absolutely amazing. It's the guys over in Fantasyland. It's the guys over at Devi to Dynasty. Great channel. And it is, of course, the legendary team Michael Bowers put together at the Fantasy Rewind show. Hey, and this other show called the Dynasty Hot Seat. Pretty good show, right? Check that out. So those are the places that I've taken the average draft position from, the mock draft position from, and I've correlated together. Right, let's get into it. You probably see something ticking around the bottom. These are the special mentions, okay? So these are the guys that didn't make the cut, got a really good position, but actually didn't quite get there. So we got Xavier Hutchinson, didn't quite make it. You've got Chris Rodriguez, didn't make it. Evan Hull didn't quite make it. A guy actually wasn't drafted a lot, but I guarantee I'm going to see him next week when I do this again. He's blowing up right now. It's Tajay Spears. So expect to see him next week on this list. It's a 2-rounder. So with that being said, let's crack on. 101. Hey, guess who it is? It's Bijan Robinson. He's a non-mover from last week. Exactly the same position he is. He's going to be there every single week. All of those guys that I looked at, he was taken 1 overall. So Bijan's going to be the number 1. That's locked in, right? We don't have to talk about Bijan Robinson. You know about Bijan Robinson. You know he's amazing. Let's move on, shall we? In at 2, CJ Stroud keeps his place in at number 2. Weirdly enough, actually, whenever I averaged them out, Stroud and Young both averaged out at an average draft position of 2.6. I just kept CJ Stroud because he was in this position last week. So he gets the benefit of the doubt. He stays at 2. And Bryce Young, as you'd imagine, in at 3. Those guys are going to go first and second quarterbacks off the board. Undisputed. Again, we know about those 2 guys. We've spoken about them before. If you want to hear more, hey, check out some of the older episodes. But those guys are going to go for sure. Next up, moving up 1 position, Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, I've not really spoken too much about Jahmyr Gibbs, so we're going to have a little chat about him right now. I love what I see from Jahmyr Gibbs. I wouldn't be shocked if this is where he goes. I wouldn't be shocked if Jahmyr Gibbs, depending on landing spot, actually ends up being the sort of locked-in 102 pick. And I'll tell you why. It's because in today's, PPR scoring, a running back that can receive as well as Jahmyr Gibbs is absolute gold. He hit over 1,000 yards receiving last year. He's fast, right? If I had any concerns, I'm thinking he's not a bruiser. He's listed at 200 pounds. I doubt he's 200 pounds. I think he'll come in at the combine lighter than that. Not too much lighter, but I just don't see the 200 pounds on him. But I just love what I see. I can't unsee Jamal Charles. You can see probably me wearing the Chiefs jersey here, right? I can't unsee Jamal Charles. And maybe I've got my Chiefs goggles on and I can't help it. But tell me, is that a comp that you guys like? Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamal Charles? Do you see somebody else that you think he might be compared to? But I love that comp of Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles, obviously, the last guy to go back-to-back running back 1 overall, like 10 years ago, right? So, yeah, I love that comp. Concerns? My main concerns are actually with the way that the NFL draft running backs. We've seen before the NFL draft these amazing pass-catching running backs, and you have your dynasty and your fantasy players screaming at the television, like, why don't you throw them the ball? People like up until this year, Josh Jacobs, the Raiders never threw on the ball. This year they do. Hey, look what happens. He's amazing at catching the ball, like we've been saying for years. People like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, great pass catcher. Andy Reid came out and said, this is the next Brian Westbrook. Nope, they don't throw him the ball. So I really hope that doesn't happen to Gibbs, but it's kind of hard to say that's going to happen. So I'm going to rest on the talent and let the talent speak for itself. And hopefully, he ends up in a good landing spot here. But I like Jahmyr Gibbs at 4. I think he might be up a little bit higher by the end of it. And in at 5, we got still staying consistent as the first wide receiver off the board is Jackson Smith-Njigba. Again, not too much to go off from last year's tape, but the year before he outclassed people like Chris Olave. And yeah, I think he's going to settle into the NFL very, very well. No matter where he goes, I think he's got the talent to do well. So Jackson Smith-Njigba, got to be really pleased getting him in at 5. This is about where I expect him to go. I don't see him rising up to the number 2 spot like Gibbs. I think Smith-Njigba will sit around 5 in the average draft position. And a guy climbing up 2 spots from last week, Jordan Addison, the former Biletnikoff winner. Yeah, Addison's smooth like butter, right? Guy gets open all the time. Love what you see with him. He's another guy. I'm not worried about landing spot with him. I think he's going to be perfectly happy. Even if he lands somewhere where there's already a massive alpha receiver there. We've seen this year with AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. And, with T. Higgins, so many teams now can have 2 big-time wide receivers. So I'm not worried where Addison goes. I think he's going to carve a role for himself, both in that team and for fantasy football as well. And next up, just dropping 1 slot, we got Quentin Johnson. Very big, very physical, very imposing. Looks to be your stereotypical NFL alpha receiver. I'm looking forward to seeing where he goes. I think this is good value here at the 107 for Quentin Johnson. Yeah, good pick here, good value here. Expect him to stay around this area. Now, next, a guy that's, this guy's kind of been rising up the rankings a lot lately is Zach Charbonnet. Up at number 8 now, rising up 2 spots from last week. Zach Charbonnet, a 22-year-old running back. But can we get an age check on Zach Charbonnet? You guys ever seen Zach Charbonnet with his helmet off? A guy not looking 22 years of age. That's all I'll say, right? The guy's a grown man. Yeah, not 22. Go check it out if you've not already. Let me know what you think in the comments. You might think I'm just mean, though. So, sorry. But Zach Charbonnet, although he might not look 22, he plays unbelievably well for a 22-year-old. Really, really strong, really physical, really imposing. The bell cow running back is dying out. So I don't see him coming in and being that anywhere unless, somebody gets injured. But I really like Zach Charbonnet. I think he'll make a really big difference somewhere. I seen someone talking about him going to the Eagles the other day. That'll be a cool landing spot for Zach Charbonnet. Sort of a big bruising running back that can really pound the ball. I think the Eagles would love him. So that'll be an awesome spot for Zach Charbonnet. A great value at the 1-8. Next up, we got a guy, Tucker. I mean, the more I watch Sean Tucker, the more I'm like, I quite like this guy. I really like the speed. I really like the pass catching. The one thing, and let me know in the comments if you think I'm a bit crazy here. A lot of his touchdowns, right, will come around the 5-yard line, and then he would kind of get to the outside zone, hit the edge, and kind of sneak in the corner. I just don't see him being able to be that much of an A+++ athlete to do that to the NFL linebackers and the NFL safeties and corners and whatever. I just don't see him being that fast to be able to do that same old trick over and over and over again that he's done in college in the NFL. That was a lot of his touchdown production. Yeah, if that gets taken away, he might be in a bit of trouble. Let me know, do you think that's something he can continue in the NFL, or could that be a worry if he doesn't have that, elite level speed and athleticism to, get the edge on much tougher competition in the NFL? So, yeah, let me know what you think. And coming in the back end of round 1, again, gotta love this. Anthony Richardson, a guy that could be the best quarterback out of all these guys. You know, the legendary Michael Bauer himself, coming on the hot seat soon, by the way. Check it out soon. Michael Bauer said, this guy could be the next Jalen Hurts, or this guy could be the next Kalen Mond, right? You don't know what's going to happen. We don't know where he's going to go. He can make spectacular throws. He can make spectacular runs, but he can also make terrible throws and terrible decisions. And sometimes all of this can happen within 10 minutes. You know, he's really got to go somewhere with a good quarterback coach, a really, really solid head coach, and a strong team around him for me to really trust him to grow and develop. I don't want him going to a Wild West place that's a mismatch of new coaches. You want him going to a solid franchise that has a track record for improving quarterback play. That's what he needs to be worth this kind of risk at the back end of the first round. But speaking of that, I mean, Will Levis, copy and paste, right? Not the same athlete, obviously, as Anthony Richardson, but needs the same amount of TLC, really. Same amount of coaching, same amount of time. Although the issue is so many teams are desperate for quarterbacks. I wouldn't be shocked to see Anthony Richardson or Will Levis starting in week 1. And that might not be the best thing for their careers. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with these guys. I think they need a bit of time to adjust to the league. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what their landing spots are. These guys will flip-flop a lot, I think, as we go on. And some of them might plummet down depending where they land. And a guy, oddly, that's been maybe the most controversial player so far, weirdly, doesn't move this week. It's Keyshawn Butte. He's staying solid, locked in at pick number 12 at the back end of the first round. This is a guy that, you know, I've seen go as highly drafted as pick number 7 and as lowly drafted as pick number 27. Absolutely huge range. Probably the biggest range of draft capital of any player that I've seen so far. So he's another one. Can he get his, head straight? Is he going to impress people in these interviews? If he starts slipping down the NFL draft, I'd be worried, because that means the teams have talked to him, passed on him again, and eventually gone, okay, I suppose we'll take this guy now, even though we didn't want to, before when we had the chance. So, yeah, I would be interested to see how far he slips. If he goes high in the NFL draft, yeah, sign me up. That means that people are liking him, people are invested. But, yeah, landing spot's going to depend a lot for Butte, see where he ends up. And just missing out, unfortunately, on the first pick of round number 2, Josh Downs. Josh Downs, we talked about it a little bit last week. I did not really like what I seen. Obviously, John Bauer was on the show last week. He talked a little bit about Josh Downs, said he's quite nice. I asked him about, that run after the catch. I wasn't impressed with that. I didn't see too much on that. He says it's not something he particularly noticed, but he's going to look into it. Have you seen anything, guys, watching? Anything with Josh Downs indicate that his run after the catch is not great? Anyone even have a stat about that? That would be awesome to know. And coming in next at the second pick of round number 2, pick number 14 overall. Hey, Michael Mayer. I'm shocked that he is falling down the board. I know it's only one space, but I just thought Michael Mayer would kind of sneak his way in to the first round, actually. Just kind of slowly and surely he would creep up, because people aren't sure about taking a risk on Butte or Downs, and just think, I'll take Michael Mayer. He's a safe pair of hands, but he's actually falling down the draft a little bit at pick 14. I really like that value for Michael Mayer there. Maybe concern people saying like he's a good blocker. He might just be used to block. But if you're a good blocker, you're on the field a lot. If you're on the field a lot, you got a chance to catch the ball. So I like Michael Mayer in there. Good chance he might go to the Cincinnati Bengals. That would be a good spot for him, I think. And yeah, well worth the draft capital there. Pick number 14 and in the start of the second round. And moving on to next, he keeps going up. We talked about this in the first show we did. If you've not seen that, you can go back and check out the playlist. Devon Achane flying up the ranks. He's up another 2 spots today. He's 5'9", right? I get it. This isn't a guy, though, that just flies to the edge and hopes for the best, though. He is patient. He does follow his blocks. If you have not seen him play, please, go go like this video, subscribe to this video, and then go check out Devon Chin. He's so fast. It's almost hilarious. This is a guy that is not just fast, but he is fast. Like, he is a track star at Texas A&M, not just another guy that runs track and, oh, it's a track guy coming out. He is a track star. His fastest 100 meters is 10.1 seconds. That's quick enough to have gotten to the semifinals of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Fast. His fastest 200 meters is 20.2 seconds. That's good enough for 5th place in the final of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Fast. Unbelievable speed. Was going to run one of the quickest 40s we've ever seen. Unbelievably cool to watch. But he is very small. So I don't know what's going to happen, but don't know where he's going to go. But I just love watching the kid. I just like watching him play. And if you've not, go check it out because it is a barrel of fun. So let's move on. We got rising up the ranks after a huge plummet. I think a plummet of 11 places last week. We got Zach Evans coming up. I still don't like what I see with Zach Evans. I still think he's slow. I don't know. I don't see the speed. I don't know. I think he's slow. I might be wrong. I don't know. I might be watching the wrong games. But every game I've watched, I've been like, don't know. Let me know what you think. I think he's, slow. But tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure, though. Next up, guy with the undisputed best name in the draft. We got Tank Bigsby, a guy that's not really a tank. We spoke about it a little bit last week. John Bauer, who's on the show, absolutely loves him. Some Tank Bigsby. Yeah, I think he's really good value here at pick number 17, pick 5 in the second round. I think Tank Bigsby. This is maybe a round where he will go. Again, whenever we get to the second round, it does depend on landing spot. It does depend on the combine and how they do, how far do they slide. Bigsby will probably be a 3rd, 4th round guy, I can only assume. He's a pretty solid guy. Does everything pretty well. Maybe like a Khalil Herbert kind of guy. We'll see where he ends up, right? Pick number 18, a guy I really like. I was shocked that he slid so much. He's down 3 places, but I'm happy with that. I'm happy to pick him up at the back end of the second round in any drafts I go in. Is Jalen Hyatt. His run after the catch, wow, awesome. Seems really good. Seems electric. Love what I see with Jalen Hyatt, one of my favorite wide receivers so far in this early part of the draft process. So yeah, really like what I see with Jalen Hyatt. Also, hey, quite like what I see with Zay Flowers. Yeah, he's fast as well. The only thing, is he going to be trusted with big plays in the NFL, or is he going to be a gadgety trick play on a 1st or 2nd down, and that's all he really gets? It will depend on his draft capital. He is sort of screaming Laviska Shenault at me a little bit, which kind of worries me because I liked what I seen with Laviska Shenault, and he did some nice gadgety things too, like Zay Flowers. But we'll see where he's drafted and go from there. But I do like what I see with Zay Flowers. He's an entertaining guy to watch. Moving up a spot now, and spot number 20 of this draft towards the back end of the second round. Got Rashee Rice. He's still a guy I'm digging into. Not too much to say about him, to be honest. Nothing that I'm going to bring that not been said before. Tell me, do you think 20 is high for Rashee Rice? He has moved up a spot. Why do you think he's moved up a spot? Leave a comment below. Let me know. Why is he moving up people's boards? The opposite's happening for this guy. Hey, Kendre Miller. Down 5 spots from last week, all the way down at the 21st pick of this draft. I quite like him. He seems fine, right? He's got very good contact balance, I think. He seems like a solid system guy that you can just put in. He's going to do what the coach says. He can run on the inside. He can run on the outside. He can throw a nice little spin move in now and again. What worries me is he doesn't seem to be the strongest guy in the world. Which, again, how well is that going to translate to the NFL when it's bigger, stronger, faster? So that I can see why he's slipping, because he doesn't have elite speed. He doesn't have elite strength. He doesn't have elite anything, really. He's a solid kind of guy. Maybe could end up being like a running back 3 on a team. Injury reliant, could get a chance. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. We got 2 new entries coming up. What I'm going to talk about a lot, that's Dalton Kincaid, because this guy, I just love what I see. You know, pass catching tight ends, just love it whenever you see one coming out of college like this. He racked up about 890 yards last year. He's 6'4", an athlete, jumping over people at 6'4". Love what I'm seeing. His hands are so good. Really, really good. He's playing as a slot guy quite a lot. Kind of not as much as Mike Gesicki, because Mike Gesicki isn't a tight end, basically, right? Mike Gesicki never lines up as a tight end. But Dalton Kincaid does, line up in the slot by 50-50. And when he does, he had over 90 targets, and I think he only had 2 drops last year. So those hands are really, really good. And when he gets the ball in his hand, he gets to work. He's throwing in juke moves. He's got pretty good speed for a tight end. I really love what I see. I think he's a great late round target. I don't like that he's climbing up the board, though, because I want to grab as many of them as I can. So I was hoping he would fall to the 3rd round, but people are catching on about Dalton Kincaid. And people are obviously also catching on about our guy Tillman. Tell me why, if you can, in the comment. Why are people finally waking up to Cedric Tillman? What is it about him that makes him slide up from where he was before in weeks 1 and 2 to entering the 2nd round debate here in the 3rd week of our ADP from the industry? And the last guy just holding on to his spot in the top 24. It's Marvin Mims, a guy that seems to me to be just a solid wide receiver. He'll get the job done for you. He'll come in. He'll do what the coach says. He quietly had a 1,000-yard season last year. I think he'll be a good player for the NFL team. Probably a wide receiver 3 somewhere. But you never know. People improve a lot, and Marvin Mims has a good foundation. So I think he's not bad value there at the end of the 2nd. Don't know if I'll be taking a lot of Marvin Mims, to be honest with you, but we'll see where he finally ends up. And that's it, guys. That is the end of our industry ADP for week number 3 that we have been doing it. Thank you so much for joining. If you would like, please, like the video, subscribe as well. If you watch a couple of these and not subscribed, give it a go. Like I said, I don't know if anyone else around is doing this kind of thing, so I'll be very grateful if you subscribe. You can keep up to date whenever we release the 4th one of these next week. Who will be the biggest riser? Who will be the biggest faller? Let me know down below. And hopefully you're having a great day and enjoy the rest of it. And until I see you next time, keep yourselves, keep your teams lit.